Okay, so I don't think Duchenne presentation introduction is needed here. So I just move quickly into the next one. And what I'm showing you is a paper, 2015 papers from the group of Stanley Frohner from Seattle, in which he presented a very exciting effect of simvastatin in MDX mice. And not only they presented improved biomarkers and histology, but also a lot of functional improvement of MDX mice that were treated either short-term or long-term with simvastatin. So it was in the paper comparable to gene therapy, or even better. So this gave a lot of hopes. And why shall I be interested in that? In our continued later papers, they show also cardiac effect and in long-term treatment, and so this looks very beautiful. And just a year ago in this conference, which was over the internet, of course, I presented this paper. So what we have done recently is that we profile microRNA in the plasma of the Duchenne patient and got some complex profile with a lot of dysregulation and attempted to understand the all-over effect of MIRNA dysregulation by a bioinformatic approach. And we produce a quite surprising prediction from the bioinformatic approach that cholesterol metabolism might be involved seriously in Duchenne muscular dystrophy. So in the light of these results, of course, we came to see what happened in the literature, found this PNAS paper of the Frohner group with simvastatin, and decided to counteract cholesterol with classical statin treatment that was already shown to be therapeutically interesting. So this is what we have done here. We treated the mice by simvastatin very short term, and we faithfully reproduce some of the papers, some of the results, but we've been only in 3 weeks, and what we were able to show is reduction of biomarkers and improve histology. In particular, what we were able to see is reduce fibrosis in the diaphragm of the MDX, and also direct staining for the cholesterol in the muscle was shown reduced cholesterol content of the muscle. And also we were able to pinpoint into the canonical action of the anti-cholesterol statin, which is the HMG-CR pathway and the SREB activity. So the SREB is a master control of synthesis of cholesterol, and they were removed from the nucleus in the treated mice. So if I go back, and this I borrow from Stanley Frohner presentation some years ago when he presented his results. So there was slight differences in what he proposed and what we propose as mechanism, because Stanley was prefer the left side here in order to say that simvastatin pleiotropic effect of anti-fibrosis, antioxidative stress, and anti-inflammation were the major region for the effect, therapeutic effects that he was detected, while our analysis was, our result more compatible with a direct effect of the canonical statin activity of simvastatin. But whatsoever, statin therapy is, of course, might be intuitively bad idea for the reasons that statin can induce myopathy. So this is was not easy to promote the idea of treating simvastatin of Duchenne patient. Yet one need to keep in mind that just the same can be said about glucocorticoid. When you treat glucocorticoid chronically, normal patient, at some moments they will have muscle problem. So it can be considered that also simvastatin merit its serious consideration, just same as glucocorticoid will do. However, the UK association decided yet to finance other studies to ask the question whether simvastatin might be yes or no good. And so this is just published and from 2 different groups in the UK, in Holland, and they couldn't reproduce the beneficial effect of simvastatin in the muscle. And in another just published study from a Polish group in skeletal muscle, also they were unable to reproduce the positive effect of simvastatin. So we're in the middle of a quite serious debate over this issue. And well, yes or no, simvastatin. And so for us, there was no point of repeating what has been done by Stanley Frohner with long-term simvastatin because, okay, too many things were done already. But we've been interested in another approach, and the other approach is the combined therapy. So in the combined therapy, under the hypothesis that maybe restoring dystrophin only is not going to be good enough. We just saw all these results, which, let's say, intermediate. They were very good in preclinical study, but when it comes to patient, microdystrophin is still far from, let's say, therapeutic efficiency. So the combined therapy would suggest that maybe you can treat with another things to normalize whatever downstream events, and in our case, we're interested in metabolic perturbation. So the idea is to mix the gene therapy with microdystrophin, just similar to the one presented before. And we also treated with simvastatin. And so the question were simply, can we get better therapeutic benefit by the combined approach? And also what's very important, is it possible to reduce the titer of the AAV? And we just discussed the potential risk of the toxicity of this AAV vector. So whatever you can do in order to reduce titer can be beneficial. So the approach that we took, okay, I don't have the pointer, but if you look at the group 4 and 5 and 6, in group 4, what we have is low titer microdystrophin. In group 5, we have just the same low titer, but we added the simvastatin, and the idea was to see if this can be comparable to the 6th group, which is of the high titer. And so very briefly, I'm going to present you the results of this study that was just published. And what you can see is that in terms of expression of the microdystrophin itself, if we compare the group of microdystrophin with and without simvastatin, in fact, we got no improve of expression of the microdystrophin. Maybe on the contrary, some smaller reduction in the expression of the microdystrophin when added the simvastatin. And unfortunately, also the escape test, which is kind of a physical functional test of the muscle, was showing also no positive effect by adding the simvastatin to the microdystrophin. Clearly, our microdystrophin approach was working because you can see very clear the dose response effect. The more you put the virus, the better you get expression and functional improvement. So what happening? We were able again to show that when you put simvastatin, you get reduction of fibrosis in the diaphragm. This was repeatedly happened. But at the same time, we were also labeled for necrosis in the muscle. And what we got is indication that simvastatin may increase, in fact, the number and the percentage of necrotic fibers. The escape test and the grip test were, as I mentioned already, showing no advantage of the simvastatin treatment, unfortunately. So this is just published, and what in terms of mechanistically, what I may suggest is, while quite repeatedly in our hands and others, simvastatin is involved in reduction of fibrosis. At the same time, it seemed to be, it's not unexpected because the mevalonate pathway is required for the regeneration of the fibers. So if you reduce the level of the mevalonate pathway, it's not that surprising that you may get some increased level also of necrosis. And whether or not the treatment of simvastatin would be efficient or not, I suppose might depend of very specific conditions, which will favor the other hand of the one hand or the other, the positive or the negative effects that we've been identified here. So all over, my conclusion for this study is that so while some biomarker and histological parameters are improved, we didn't get support for the combined therapy for simvastatin together with microdystrophin. And we still believe that the cholesterol and lipid normalization approach is merit further experiment, and what we would like in the future to do is to look for alternative method for metabolic normalization in combination with gene therapy. And just to finish, I give the credit. So all this happened in Geneton, and the PI is Isabelle Richard, and the people here that participated in this study are mentioned here. And I thank you, and I take your questions.
Nice talk. When you impinge on cholesterol metabolism, you also impinge and alter maybe bile salt. So ursocholic, tauroursocholic acid, all these derivatives from the cholesterol have been shown to be important for muscle growth or has a chaperone-like function. So have you checked whether in treating with simvastatin, you affect the production of the bile salts, let's say systemically in liver, but also locally in the muscle?
But we're unable to discern a clear effect. So yeah, we try to tackle the problem, but so far we're inconclusive in regard to that.
Maybe I have bad memories, but I remember that maybe 10 years ago there were polemics about statin-induced myopathy. You remember something like that? Yeah, you have in your slides, and I was sleeping.
Raise money to get further in simvastatin therapy. And of course, the idea is problematic, and it's just presented here. And so that's why, in fact, UK association financed another group to be an independent study. And this is where contradicting results were